We'll get started at 9:30 on the dot. Welcome to the marketing track of the first session. We'll do some introductions here in a second, but this first topic relates to geofencing, and we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the day. Kind of the objective of this session, as they presented it to us as a panel, is to provide timely, relevant, and actionable advice to help grow business. And that's what our goal is today. So if you feel like, as we get into this, you haven't had anything actionable, relevant, or timely, raise your hand and we'll try to make it that way. But nonetheless, I think we'll be just fine. My name is Jason Reese. I'm an associate professor of marketing at Stephen F. Austin State University. I teach within the Nelson Rushi College of Business. I've been there for 5 years. My area particularly is in marketing of services and sports marketing, so that's kind of my background. But you're not going to hear a whole lot from me because I'm the guy that's asking the questions. They're the content experts, and so we'll hear from them. Today we have two panelists, Landon Morrison from Town Square Media. We'll let them introduce themselves in a second. Crystal Williams from McWilliams & Sons Heating and Air. So I'll tell you a little bit about the format today. This is about a 55-minute session. We will make it pretty informal. So if you hear something that's said and you have a question about it, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll take questions throughout the whole thing. But just in case we don't have a talk picture, we'll spend some time at the end, about 10 minutes of Q&A. So feel free to make it as interactive as possible. Also, if you feel like you want to jump between sessions, you're not going to offend us. We understand there's a lot of great things going on, so feel free to get up and come in and out. So. All right, well, I don't know who wants to start us off, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
And your business, and we'll go from there.
Sure. My name is Crystal Williams. I'm the marketing director for my family's heating and air conditioning company, McWilliams & Son Heating and Air Conditioning, based out of Lufkin. We do only heating and air conditioning. I say only, but that's pretty much what we do. We have grown from 12 employees in 2014, so we just hired our 52nd employee 2 days ago, and so we pride ourselves on growing as efficiently as we can, but that also comes, which this will relate all back to why GeoFence, to recruiting and retaining good employees. I am a 2005 graduate of SFA, Axum Jacks, as a communications major, but I do all of the marketing buys for our company, which is pretty unique to the industry. Most heating and air conditioning companies do not have a full-time marketing person there, but my family just felt like that was needed. We acquired a company out of Nacogdoches in 2014 and a company out of Lufkin, which is where our home office is. We acquired another company there in 2015, and then we just opened our location in Livingston last year. And so we utilize all different types of marketing. So I'm excited to be here today, and love to talk marketing. I could talk 55 minutes is nothing. Yeah.
Well, my name is Landon Morrison, and I work for Town Square Media, and I run the regional digital marketing for them. So I cover all of East Texas, so from pretty much Texarkana all the way down to League City, Beaumont, wherever it needs to be. When I first started in marketing, it was probably digital marketing about 5 years ago, but I can give you kind of the rundown from how I got here. Started in North Texas in radio, television, and film production, and I was working at a beer distributor there, and so I graduated and I was like, hey, go chase my degree or go into alcohol beverage distribution. So I took the job that was in admin. And after that, did that for about 8 years, but I learned a lot as an analyst, going from the bottom all the way to analyst position. And after that, kind of got burnt out and had an opportunity to get back into radio, which that was my degree in the first place. And so once I got into radio, moved down to Houston, and after that, they had this whole little section here called digital marketing, and everyone was saying, this is where advertising is going, this is where marketing is going. So I was like, well, that is where I need to be, and fell in love with it. Came down here to Lufkin and fell in love with digital marketing, and geofencing is just one piece and one tactic that we have in our portfolio at Town Square. So I love to just open that up, crack the surface open a little bit, and just, Crystal and I, we work together a lot too, and so we sit around and literally we can talk about marketing for like 55
We have to
days.
set time, start and ending time.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be here and thank you for attending.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning. This obviously is a marketing track. So, and you kind of mentioned this, you touched on it, and you said you could talk about it for forever. So, what is marketing? Meaning, can you give us an overview of what marketing means to your organization, kind of as a rundown, and how it might apply to the businesses that you're in?
So for McWilliams & Son, we have to market a variety of different ways. So number one, of course, is new customer acquisition, right? How can we get new customers to want to choose us, and how do we do that the most price-effective way possible? The second one is customer retention. So people don't all, you're not calling us on your best day. Nobody is excited to have air conditioning or heating problems.
Mine's broken right now.
Yeah.
I'm not
I have a
kidding.
car.
Mine is broken.
Yeah, so we're not really getting people on their best day, and also you shouldn't have trouble that often, right? So once I have you as a customer, normally it's going to be 5 to 6 years before I ever hear from you again. So customer retainage is very important. Also, our employee retention and acquiring new members that are top in their field is something that we have to keep our eye on all the time. The field is constantly changing, just like every field out there. There's constantly change, constantly upgrades, and also the demographic of who we're recruiting changes constantly. Right now, if you're trying to recruit anybody that's a millennial, digital anything is where it's at. Anybody over the age of 50 you're trying to recruit, digital is not where it's at sometimes. So you just have to kind of play that balance beam act of figuring out where you are. But marketing, I think, has to be strategic, and it has to be intentional, and it has to be tracked. And so actually before we started, Landon said, we have got to go over your reports, because we have to sit down and talk about what is working and what isn't working. And you have to be willing to try some things that are outside of the box, even for your industry, and not be so much afraid of doing something that's not out of the norm. And the last thing I would say is that you, which I can spend some money, let me just tell you, but I think you do have to know your numbers of your business. You have to understand how much it costs you to get a new customer, how much can you afford to spend, how much do you want to grow, and all of those things, whether people want to believe it or not. But there is a strategic method to the madness, as they say, on knowing your numbers so that you know if your marketing is working. Because even branding marketing is trackable in a sense. Maybe not true dollar for dollar, but even branding marketing, you should be able to equate some type of return on investment from those spends that you're making. And so that's how we utilize marketing, and we are very strategic on what we do, but we do spend money. So if you're like, how can I do this for free? I'm probably not the right person to talk to, but just making sure that you know what your intentions are and what you hope to learn from something will make a big difference.
Yeah, and going along with what you said about knowing your numbers, I would say knowing your numbers is probably one of the most important things to have. And I would say if anyone has a website or you're building a website, first thing you should do, go sign up for Google Analytics. Just go sign up for it, it's free. Make sure you go get it. You don't have to know how to read it, but just have it. And the reason why is because when you know your numbers, when you meet with someone like myself, we can sit there and I can say, all right, what's your average cost per sale? How much does it cost? What's your margin between that sale? Because as we're putting your marketing campaign together, I can say, well, we need 100,000 impressions is going to accumulate 100 people, and 100 people is going to transfer to how many dollars walk through your door. So if I don't know those numbers, I'm kind of shooting in the blind. So that's why it's so important to know your numbers. And I know a lot of times you have a consultant come in there, and a lot of people are guarded. They're like, I don't want you in my books. But it's one of those things where I'm not trying to be nosy, but those are things I need to know to help you go to the next level and figure out what tactic is going to help you grow your business. Because, like I say, GeoFencing is an overall thing, but like when we work with Crystal, she's like, all right, I want to focus on my recruitment campaign. So that's a different demographic profile than someone saying, I just want people to know my name. So there's different ways we have to use these tactics, and so that's why knowing your numbers and knowing where you want to go is the best starting point. And I guess to answer Jason's question, what is marketing? It's just getting attention and figuring out a way to get attention without being intrusive to people. Because I always tell all my clients, I was like, everyone's had a digital marketing experience, whether it's been some ad following you from website to website, or you open up an app and this ad pops up, and then or my favorite one is when someone says, I was just talking about that and that popped up on my phone.
Social listening. People think it's like spying. It is.
So it's just getting people's attention, but just trying to work that marketing into just everyone's everyday lifestyle.
Cool. Well, you mentioned geofencing. That's our topic today. Let's dig a little bit into it. So a lot of people in the audience may know exactly what geofencing is, may do it every day. Some people may not have a clue, and they say, well, it says marketing, and I want to know what that is. So I guess the question, can somebody kind of take that question, what is geofencing, and how do companies use it to help their marketing effort?
Well, geofencing is just location targeting. So it uses longitude, latitude on everyone's phone. And the way it can be used, vastly different from everyone else. You can take three different car dealerships, and one car dealership wants to target, use geofencing just for people that drive down their street. So if my car dealership is right here in the middle, I want to hit people this block, I want to hit people on this block. Someone else, which a lot of car dealerships like to do, we have a tactic called conversion zones, where they can actually target their competition, and as someone is on a competitor's car lot, they can send an ad to that person. And then they can track it within 30 days if that person comes to their car dealership. So that's one way to use geofencing.
Kind of sneaky and fun there, isn't it?
Yeah. But car dealers, they are fun guys. They love competition. I've had some guys where they say, hey, I got my competitor's home address, and I want you to put his address in my mix, and I want to send ads to him.
And it goes to all their devices,
Right.
so they can't get away from it. It's on their iPad, it's on their desktop, it's on their cell phone, it's on their wife's cell phone.
Exactly. Kids, tablets, everything. So the way we can use it is vastly different, and so everyone has their own key on what they want to do and how they want to differentiate themselves from their competition. So that's why we always say, when you know your numbers and you know where you want to go, we can use all these tactics, because they're really they're like Play-Doh, and we can mold it to whatever needs to be molded to for your business.
And from a buyer's perspective, geofencing is just simply a part of our digital strategy. So we use other forms of digital advertising than geofencing. But geofencing, what I really enjoy about that is how targeted and pinpointed it can be. So like he said, it really is so versatile when it comes to how you can utilize it. But the way we use it is when we moved into the Livingston market, okay? When we got ready to move into there, I had identified some neighborhoods that had systems, heating and air conditioning systems on their home older than 10 years old, because the average life expectancy of a HVAC system is 12 to 15 years. So normally about year 10, you start having issues. So I just called up Landon and I said, okay, I've done some research, I want these 3 neighborhoods, and literally in your mind, you draw an imaginary fence around those neighborhoods, and then I want all those people to receive our ads on every device that they have. I don't want them to be able to run from it. So one of my favorite ways to use that though, and Landon might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but we had somebody call our office and they said, I'm calling you because every night when I play Words with Friends, I see 3 faces of y'all's company every night. My husband probably thinks I have some kind of infatuation with y'all, but y'all just keep showing up in my games on my, so my target market for McWilliams & Son is 45 and older. So I shift all of my focus to that age demographic. So when I talked to Landon, I said, these are the neighborhoods that I want, and I really want to pare it down even more because I'd like for them to own the home, because I can't work it on if you're not the owner. And then I also would like for them to have an income level. Normally I choose somewhere $80,000 home income level, and then here's my age brackets. So then he like dials all that information in, and that's how I know who's actually receiving those ads. So it is fantastic for those of you that really can pinpoint who you want to see your information. Another thing that you can use it for is, so we have a commercial side to our business. We work on refrigerators, ice machines, large water-cooled, things like that. So I can geofence every restaurant. So all of the managers, I can geofence restaurants, and all the managers and things like that are going in and out, they are going to see my branding all the time. So then when their ice machine breaks, I'm like, who are those stupid people I see all the time? Because our logo is a 3 generations logo, my grandfather, my dad, and my brother. And so that's what I use because that's part of our branding. And so I just keep that in their face. So when they have a problem, we're time of need. So people don't need me until they're hot or they don't have any ice in a restaurant. And so that's how I utilize geofencing. We saw a 40% return on geofencing for us off of one simple campaign that we really, Landon and I were kind of going kind of far out there. We were about to drop a postcard that gave a tune-up cost to customers that had never used us before. So I utilized a company to help me do a direct mail campaign. And I said, I want to make sure we've never done service for them before. Then I took those same parameters and gave them to Landon and said, I want to drop the letter, and then a week later, I want to kick this digital campaign in. So it's the first touch point, they saw the postcard, then from then on for 6 consecutive weeks, they saw my ads. So if they're not calling me after eight touch points, I'm probably not getting anything, but I had 40% return. And so that was a huge, and it was really not that large of an investment.
We got
See? So geofencing can really, if you can just stop and think about it and utilize someone that does it, it would really help you develop a good strategy for that.
I also like to add to that. I also like to think of geofencing as it's the glue that kind of brings all your other marketing together. So, our traditional television, radio, billboards, yellow pages, people still use them. I don't know how to find one.
You're not old enough.
Right? So I believe that with digital and geofencing, it's that glue that can bring it together because, if you just did billboards by itself, people are driving down the street, trying not to wreck. But if someone sees that in their phone all the time and then they see your billboard as they're passing by, it brings up that brand recognition. And that's one of the biggest things about marketing is just bringing up your brand recognition. And so as many times as you can get in front of someone where they can just know your logo. And like Crystal was saying, the 3 generations logo, they might not remember the name, but they know that logo. So when they see the logo, they're like, oh, that's McWilliams and something. They're driving down the street. Oh, that's who they are. And so that it takes people about 4 times to actually process advertisement. Just like, and myself personally, like I love the Geico commercials because I think those guys are geniuses. But when
they have a catch.
Yeah, they do. But even with that, when you walk into the middle of a Geico commercial, you don't know what you're watching majority of the time. And so it takes a couple times, like the hump day thing. Like I saw it a couple times, like why is this camera walking through the office? Like what's going on? But now it's one of my favorite commercials, and I got a friend named Mike, so he already knows on Wednesday what's going to happen to him. So yeah, it's brand recognition. That's the best thing about marketing and working with digital. It can work. It's not one of those things where you have to take away from what you're doing to do digital marketing. It's one of those things where you add it on or layer it into it to make your marketing campaign more efficient.
Yeah, and when you use, I was talking with someone before the session started, geofencing is not perfect for every task that you're trying to accomplish. So if you have a marketing strategy that doesn't involve specific locations, geofencing could be a little difficult. I think you might have better return off of a different style of digital media, but geofencing is perfect when you have physical latitude and longitude locations that you can focus on. So if you are trying to, I've shared with Mary, if you're trying to hire people and you own a heating and air conditioning shop, I could geo-target all the other ones and try to poach their people to come and work with me. And that's kind of sneaky, but it works because all of a sudden I can create a campaign, which I did, that talks about why you want to come work for us, how we try to make people feel like they have a career, not just a job, and how we can maximize that. And literally, I made a campaign, we created a campaign that talked about move to the Piney Woods, escape the hustle and bustle of large city. So he ran it for me, we ran it in the Woodlands, we ran it in Houston, and now we got like 37 applicants off people that were like, I want to move away from here. But that was my whole thing, like, come here. We're still fast-paced and growing, but you don't have, I mean, these people are spending 5 and 6 hours a day in traffic trying to get from call to call. So, but if we didn't have those locations to target, I would have had to do like a different style of digital marketing that gets them a different way. So because I had those actual locations, so every time they're driving into their work office every day, that night I'm going to be on their phone inside their app, following them around on the academy and any kind of sporting thing I can find. So that's kind of the best way I can help people that have no idea how to start with geofencing, is you kind of need to have a physical location of some sort to apply it to. That's the best way. I finally had to teach myself that because Landon would talk over my head sometimes. But
So if we look at it in the big picture, it's basically part of your marketing tactics. I mean, you said it's part of the digital strategy. I mean, it's not the end all and be all, but it's a big part of that. And you talked a minute ago about return on investment of tracking. And for example, one thing that came to mind, you were talking about competitors, talking about the car dealerships. People are looking on their phones nonstop. Hopefully not looking at the billboard and their phone at the same time while they're driving, but two different mediums. But even into the brick and mortar stores today, people go on their phones and look at the same products on other companies' websites while they're in store shopping for those products. And so I guess the big question is, how have small businesses been able to use this to be successful? I mean, what are some successful best practices or big success stories that either you've seen your business have or you've seen other businesses have when it comes to geofencing? How do they do that?
I would say some of the big successes, I'll say really just starting out, I usually have people go through 3 things when they geofence. We have 3 different levels. Run a network, which run a network is one of those things where it's just overall branding. And if you want to start out somewhere, start out just getting your name out there. If you have a small budget, that's the way to go. After that, I would say hyperlocal mobile. Hyperlocal mobile is what Crystal was talking about, where now you start to look at different locations of where your potential customers' behavior is. And that's one of the things that we run into a lot is we'll do something for a client. They were like, that didn't make any sense. I don't like that. It was like, I understand you don't like that, but your clients, this is where your clients go. This is what your client's behavior is. And understanding that behavior is where they're going to get you to where you want to go. Number 3 after that is advanced audience targeting, which is called ATT. With that, that's where we get really, really into the bones of your customer's profile, which is we can look at age demographics, household income, their home median value, credit score, what school they went to. We can even figure out what kind of car you had. If we're dealing with a Ford dealership and they were like, hey, we want to sell people that have F-150s over 10 years old, we want to sell them a new F-150. We can go find out how many people in a zip code have F-150s and send them an ad. So,
yeah.
You've been a victim of
that. Evidently, right in some good target right there. Yeah.
So, with that being said, those are the things that we start out. And usually, every campaign we start with that is successful. Let me see, because like you're seeing the success right here. Just working with her is a success. And just come with ideas also. That's what's going to make a successful campaign. Like, there's nothing too out of the box that we can't figure out. So, like when Crystal and I meet, it's a lot of brainstorming. We sit there and it's like, she comes in, I have this idea. She pulls out her notebook, can we do this? I was like, possibly? Or can we do that? And those are the things that help build a successful campaign, because every company and every niche is a little bit different. So the thing is for me, is to get them down into those key things that you want to see results from and pulling those out. And we can have reporting every month about that. So we can look and say, all right, this tactic isn't working, let's change this a little bit. Or what do you have down the pipeline that you're working on? So if you guys are doing video, well, let's switch out a tactic, either add video or let's switch it out and do something else, because video is one of those things that's really, really starting to grow, because people are getting a little immune to you know, the static ads. So me, I like to put emotion in my ads. So like different things where we did a campaign for pilgrims, and we were sitting there and I kind of put my foot in my mouth because I actually said we could do this before I actually had it done.
You overpromised?
Yeah, I did. I had to get, oh man, that was a long week. So we were sitting with pilgrims, and they were doing a recruitment campaign. And they were like, we want something different. So I sent her some ads, these are the ads that Pilgrim uses for their recruitment campaign. Sent her those, I was like, can we adjust those? She was like, no, those are boring. Words exactly. So we were sitting in a meeting, I was like, what if we like had some eggs dropping from the top of the ad, and then they fall out of the frame and your ad pops, your recruitment campaign pops up? She was like, yes, that's what I want.
Definitely not boring.
Right. I was like, ah. So what happened is we got the ads together, and it came out to be one of the best successful campaigns they've ever had. We had another one where we just had a chicken walking across the screen, like something very, very simple, but it gets people's attention, and that's people love motion. People love to see things. So even if you're, you know, looking at your favorite website and you see a whole bunch of eggs just fall into the frame and they fall away, your eye is automatically going to go that direction just to see what just happened, because that's how people move. That's how people's behavior is. They move off emotion. So that was one of the most successful campaigns we had, because now they're actually taking that to their corporate office and recommending us to help everyone else in Pilgrim to do their marketing campaigns. So just come and have fun with the people. Just partner up with someone you like to partner up with and bring ideas and just have fun. And the success will come just from the creativity in the room. That's my recommendation.
Well, and those of you that own your own business, maybe it's like your personal business, like my family's business, and even if you're just really passionate about the business that you're in, you know your business, you know your customer base more than you may think you actually do. And so sometimes you may be overwhelmed with the first time you sit down in a digital strategy meeting and they start using things like run of network and stuff like that. My first reaction is to like shut down, right? Like, okay, I don't know. And now I'm putting all of my trust in them. Well, I decided a long time ago that I knew what was bringing people, what was making our phone ring. I knew what was bringing people in the door, and I knew how employees were responding. They would say, oh, I saw your ad and it just looked, so I knew that what we were doing was working. So once I gained my own confidence to what I knew we needed and partnered with their expertise in how we could make it work, that's when you really start to see success. I'm not a huge fan of I call it canned campaigns, where, hey, we've got this campaign, we'll do X, Y, and Z. Well, I'm normally going to go in there and say, I don't want any of that, because if you're canning it for me, that normally means you can can it for 10 other people, right? And I need to figure out a way to differentiate myself. And so sometimes you just have to be able to decide. You do know, if you sat down and looked, who is your customer base? Who should you be marketing to? If your answer is, I market to everybody, that is the wrong answer. So, and the reason I say that is because if you're trying to reach everybody, you're probably not effectively reaching anyone. And so it's really hard to say, do I want a 30-year-old to buy a heating and air conditioning system from me? Absolutely. But the odds are it's going to be someone over 45 that has to buy a new HVAC system. So I allocate the majority of my dollars to where those people are. Hopefully there's some residual overflow that they see it as well. And I do lots of branding things. I do a lot with, I try to maximize like my partnerships with the chambers and with the organization. I plug myself in to build the additional contacts, but for the most part, I spend my dollars on the people that I actually want to call me, and then I take those ideas and bring them to him. This particular postcard that we use has fantastic returns. I literally set it in front of Landon and said, I want my ad to look like this because this is working. So he was like, okay, that's really boring and ugly. I said, I know, but it works. So he's like, I gotta call a designer. I was like, they're gonna be aggravated. They're gonna have to design it. Design is a stretch because it's literally just a basic look to it. So there's a couple of rules that I use too. Number one is I try to not over design my ads, because when you partner with a good buyer for you, you can give them your ideas, but they are the experts in design because they see so many people's campaigns. So I think sometimes people design themselves right out of a good return on investment. It'll be so busy that the message isn't clear. So especially when you're using geofencing, it's so targeted. The simpler the message or the call to action, whichever way you're going there, the simpler it can be that you can hand over to your partner, the better your return on investment is going to be. So that's just a couple of things that I really do. I really target down on who I want, and it's a small little sliver, but it works. And then I make sure our design that we're using is clear and concise and recognizable to what our brand is.
I think the biggest thing that I'm hearing from you guys is that it's about finding, you can't be all things to all people.
Right.
Meaning, you have a product that all people need in Texas in the summer, right? But at the end of the day, your target market isn't everybody, and you have to be very specific in that. And geo-targeting, this bigger picture, is simply in its name, it's target. So, people are bought in. Let's say everybody in the room is going, yeah, let's do it. Some people are entrepreneurs, some people are small businesses, some people have a lot of capital, some people don't have a lot of capital. I guess the question is, where do they start? Is there a first step to geofencing, and how do they do that when their capital might be limited? It's a harder question.
Well, the first thing you have to do is determine that target market. So if you don't exactly know who you should be targeting, I would seek the advice of a marketing consultant to at least help you decide who exactly specifically who your target market is. Because I'm telling you, I can go to Landon and say, I want to geofence everybody, the whole town of Livingston. Okay, which he's going to look at me and say, hey, it's kind of ridiculous because that's not the best way. We can do a lot more through geo-targeting people than we can geofencing, because again, we're not narrowing it down, drawing that invisible fence. So that would be the first step that I would give advice is you need to know your business and have it lined out enough to know what to tell your strategist to do before you walk in there. And then your first tag.
Well, I would say probably have your website together. Like it doesn't have to, you don't have to spend like $3,000-$4,000 on the website, but have a nice, presentable website. And if you don't have one, call me. I can help y'all get that too.
Yeah.
But and the reason why I say that is because your website is your new storefront. The majority of the time, if someone hears your name, sees your name, whatever they're going to do, they're going to go to your website first, and they're going to go there and see what's going on in your website. Number two reason why I say have a great website is because there are a lot of analytics attached to your website. So as Crystal was saying, know your customer. Well, if you have enough traffic coming into your website will show you
Tell
who
you your customer is.
It will tell you absolutely who you need, what you need. And so all you have to do is really take that information and email it to me. And then we can start developing your campaign. So I would say know your back end information first. So Google Analytics and having a great website, those two things will start you on the right way. And then don't really worry too much about, do I have enough to start geofencing? Is my budget big enough? Just sit down, talk to someone that you trust and that you want to work with, you want to partner with. And a lot of times what I do when I meet a client, I give them a good, better, best scenario. So the good, better, best is, this is where you want to start, right here, the best or good, that's fine with me. Or if you say, hey, my budget fits right here in this category, I've just given you a game plan to grow your campaign as you start to see results. So we're mapping it out from day one of what we want to do next the whole time. So that's why I say don't worry too much about how much your budget is. Just worry about just understanding who your client, who your demographic is, and then sit down with myself or someone else that you trust, and we'll just start. Like that's the only thing you really can do is just start, because you know, you don't start marketing today, your competition is already started. So just get out there and just get it going.
Well, and a lot of times there's ways to see what your competition is already doing digitally, so that you can either go a different direction or something like that. But really, it's just, I think you pretty much can get started with a decent amount of money. I don't think you have to have thousands of dollars every month to do anything. If anything, if you sit down with a strategist and developed a plan, if anything, you would know how to prepare for when you can start to do it. The good news is, so for 2 weeks, it's been 104 degrees. I haven't needed one bit of advertising, so I hit the emergency shuttle. I literally, you could ask Lynn, and I'll be like, Mayday, Mayday, I gotta turn everything off, because we were running to where my guys were running till midnight. They're running till 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're coming back in at 7, and we were doing 6 installs a day, and we were just killing our team. And so we really I literally had to push emergency stop button. Like, I want to turn everything off. And they literally were like, that's fine, let me know. Let me know when you want to turn it back on. So I'll kind of let everything settle back down, and then I'll turn it back on, because then I need that encouragement for people to call. Nobody in Texas needs me to encourage you when your air goes out and it's 106 degrees outside. But when it's 80 degrees outside in Texas, people are like, it's almost fall. I can make it, right? So I have to give a little encouragement, a little incentive to call me then. But so that is what I do appreciate that very much. I can't turn off a billboard, right? That billboard, they're gonna bill me whether it's 106 or 26, okay? But with digital, the good news about it is you can pause it. Landon tells me I'm not stopping it. I'm only pausing it because we're going to turn it back on. But I pause it because I can't take it. And then sometimes I'll say, it's raining and it's terrible. What can we do? Let's ramp it up. Let's double up on what we offer these next few weeks. So it is pretty quickly turned over, and it can ebb and flow with your business. And so if you're looking to me at a form of media that you can really have control over and fairly quickly, it's digital. So, I mean, you run a newspaper ad, it's gonna run. You have it set to run Sunday, and now all of a sudden it's gonna be 100 degrees and you don't want it to run, you're gonna have a hard time. Oh, hey, wait, I know I already signed that contract, but can we just move that? No, you've already bought it, right? Well, with digital, things tend to work a little easier for you.
So, challenges. We decided to do it. Here's how it started. What's the biggest challenge people are going to face, and what are some steps they can take to prepare for those challenges and overcome them when they engage in GeoFencing?
I would say one of the biggest challenges is people being impatient, because it takes about 90 days to get your campaign actually adapted and running. So I've had a lot of clients who's like, I'm not seeing any results. I'm like, sir, it's only been 14 days.
Yeah. 30 minutes. You have
right. And so that's one of the things is where it takes time for your campaign to grow, because it's more efficient way of advertising, but that means also we're not going to just spend your money and just throwing it up against the wall. So even with what we call impressions or views, however you want to look at it, we don't just take your money and was like, all right, we're going to throw out 100,000 views in a week. No, it's systematically put out. And so we attach those with mobile IDs, zip codes, wherever people may be. And so we go see, where are you getting the most clicks? Who are really attracted to these ads, or you're seeing that people are interested in these ads? And after that, the program starts to kind of understand, like, oh, this is our demographic profile and how the system is working. So it's like, all right, let's send some more. Let's send some more. And once again, like I said previously, it takes people about 4 times to actually respond to an ad. So if you're only taking a small group of people, like 2,000 or 3,000 people, and you send them one ad and was like, I'm not seeing anything. Well, you're gonna have to hit that group a couple more times for you to actually see results. So I think that's the biggest challenge is people being impatient, and you have to really be committed to, I want to add digital marketing to my campaign. Like I think that's one of the main things. You have to be really committed to it.
I know a lot of people want like a magic pill. Like, we all attend these marketing conferences because I'm the same way. And we're like, okay, I need something to just make my phone ring. Like, how can I make the phone ring? And we're all looking for this magic pill. I I'm here to tell you there's not a magic pill. If there is, the one thing that I think is magic speaks right to what he just said, and it's consistency. So my encouragement to you is going to be to stop throwing wet noodles on the wall to see what sticks if you don't intend to do that consistently until you find something that works. What happens is, and we have been super pumped. We'll run some kind of fun thing, and I'm like, oh, that was terrible. That didn't work at all. So is that money wasted? Maybe I can't give an exact ROI, but I do know there's some branding overage that came from that, so I can kind of talk myself up about it. But truth be told, sometimes you're going to run some campaigns, you're going to geofence some areas, and you're going to get out there and really the leads aren't worth what you hoped they would be. So you will geo-target an area, get out there, and one developer owns 20 of the houses, the oldest houses out there. Well, then you're going to, it was a great lead, but it just isn't going to be, it wasn't who we needed it to be. But it followed all the right parameters that we put out there, it just didn't work. But we consistently brand. I do some marketing for some other heating and air conditioning companies across the nation, and a lot of times they want immediate success, which I feel that, I understand that. My brother is that way. He likes to be able to, if we're going to drop a postcard and the phones need to start ringing that day. I literally can tell when our postcards drop because the phones are going to start ringing about 3 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when people check the mail. So those things are like these immediate responses. But when you really start your year out, whenever you're willing and able to start, you probably, my marketing advice to you is going to do it all year long. Like, forgive me, but come hell or high water, I'm marketing all year long. I'm budgeting the money, I'm working with a strategist, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to run it all year long. And at the end of that year, you will have some true data to know, okay, did I drop a postcard 1 time or 6 times? So when I dropped it 6 times throughout the year, this one wasn't great, but the 3rd one was great, the 5th one was great, and overall I had a 30% return. 30% return right now on marketing is huge, huge numbers. People are happy sometimes with a 5% return. So when you can really see that you did something very consistently, so it's the same thing with geofencing and geo-targeting, all your digital strategy. You can't just throw it out there for a few weeks and like, oh good, it did work, I'm turning it off. You've got to give it some consistency. So develop a budget, whatever you think you can do. Normally it's 6%. You want to maintain where you are as a company, you just want to maintain, you don't think you need to grow any, then you get 6% of your budget needs to be marketing. If you really want to be aggressive and grow, the recommendation is 10%, which some people fall out of their chair when they start thinking I gotta write $20,000 checks every month to advertising or marketing. But set whatever number you're going to set and stay with it all year long. Consistently push and utilize things like geofencing because you're right now, more than likely, if you're in this area, competition really hadn't picked up on all that. So these are some little inside ways to fairly inexpensively make a big impact on your campaigns.
Well, awesome. So we've got some time here at the end.